It's a crazy, crazy world. I was thinking also, I'm always like, I am skeptical when I see these things in the news, like we were talking about earlier, just going through all the scenarios that could possibly be happening with the Trump stuff. And it's also, there are just deranged people in the world acting alone.
Yeah.
I don't know to what percentage anymore, but I was thinking about,
Well,
I had a, go.
I just want to say on that, like, it gets tiresome, like on the internet where it's like celebrity dies of old age and they're like, what did they know?
Suddenly?
Yeah, suddenly at 78.
Oh, no. It's
like,
people do die.
They do die.
And there is just deranged violence.
Yep.
I thinking about that, thinking about just isolated deranged violence. I knew I had a friend, an old friend from home. Her older brother was just shopping in a supermarket, in our local supermarket. And some psychotic person just left his home that morning or afternoon, whatever it was, walked in that supermarket, found the first person he saw, came up behind him, which was my friend's older brother, just opened his throat with a knife and killed him. Just completely random. And it was shocking, right? Like it just shocked a community, So I think a lot of us do have proximity to violence like that. And you also think, of course, some crazy person just does this crazy stuff. It is crazy all the things this Trump shooter had to go through, but there is also psychos.
Right. Yeah. And that's sort of what she was talking about too, with like, was something planned or was something allowed? Was something facilitated?
That feels the most right to me so far.
Yeah, but it's like every detail that gets added makes you recontextualize the one that came before it.
Right.
And
who they voted for, who they donated to, what shirt they were wearing,
what their parents do for a living,
right.
like is all become part of the speculation, and what neighborhood they live in,
and everyone with a certain political persuasion is now profiling this person from different angles.
Yes,
so there's like
everybody's
versions.
Convinced of what they already thought.
6 versions of this person, so you have to kind of go through all of like the prism of this person's life.
And it's universal. It's not like one side's doing it and one side's not. It's very
right.
Like, look at this. It's so obvious that, like, the same fact, right? The same fact he's a registered Republican. It's so obviously he was a Republican and he didn't do that. It's so the other side. It's so obvious that he didn't just throw people off. And
then within those,
because it's an open or it's a closed primary state, so obviously he wanted to vote against.
Within those pockets of people, there's other pockets of people.
Yeah,
so it's there's so many versions. Do we have a caller?
We do.
Okay, so right before we get to the caller, I just want to shout out to Grofty. We got $2 from Grofty. Shout out to Grofty.
Shout out Grofty.
He said, "Kick the like button." That's what's up. I appreciate it. Thank you for watching. And let's get to a caller.
Let's do it. Give me just 1 moment.
Man, oh man. Hello there.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
We're good. Thank you for waiting. We'd love to hear your story.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Of course.
Well, this is my first actual visual experience, the supernatural, and to set it up, the house that I lived in, it was a 2-story house, and when you went through the front door, there's like a staircase that went all the way up, and you can see the whole upstairs. But when I came home this particular night, the lights downstairs were on, so they're kind of illuminating a little bit up on the second floor, but I couldn't see that well. Anyways, at the time, my dad was married to this wonderful lady, let's put it that way.
I heard wonderful in quotes. I heard wonderful in quotes.
You absolutely did.
Okay.
Yeah, and, she is, at the time, it was, we didn't have cell phone stuff, but I write friends' notes on paper and all that. And I saw a dark figure come out of my dad's bedroom from the left side and walk all the way into my room, which was, I'd say 25-foot distance between the 2 doors. And I thought, it must be her going in my room snooping around, because that's what she used to do. So I stood at the bottom of the staircase and just waited there. And I was like, okay, I'm going to catch her, when she comes out of my room, and ask her, what are you doing? Doesn't happen. And so I'm like, okay, well, then I'm just going to go in my room and catch her snooping around in my stuff. So I go upstairs and I go in my room, and there's nobody in there at all.
Uh-oh.
All the lights are off. Yeah. So that definitely freaked me out. I was probably about 12 at the time when that happened. But it was just strange because I definitely watched somebody walk into the room. I know you've heard about the dark figures and stuff.
And so this dark figure in particular, was it just more human-like? Can you describe? Can you give us some
definitely, yeah. I mean, it was definitely human-like. It was just all black though. That's the weird thing. And the lights were off up there, and like I said, and just the lights were illuminating. But I watched it walk. Walked like a human, acted like a human. So that's why I thought, oh, it's definitely her going in there.
Wow.
Were
there sounds or temperature changes?
No, not that I remember, but there was definitely a lot of bad things that happened in that home with regards to my family. There's a lot of dark energy there. And I've had other people in the house experience different things too. So yeah.
Are you of the belief that this entity could have been born out of bad things that happened in the past?
I think so, because I'm telling you, the second our family moved into that house, our family got torn apart completely.
Wow.
I mean, it ruined everything.
Oh, so yeah, do you think there was something in the house already?
I think so. I mean, I know I thought it was like maybe the person that lived there before, but when I was originally moving in there in my bedroom, I found a note in the closet that said, "Oh, this house is built on an Indian grave, and it's haunted or whatever." And I just kind of threw it off, like, okay, this is like the last people just trying to, screw with us. But yeah, no, a lot of bad stuff happened in that house. So
yeah. Did you see that figure again?
I did not. No.
Were there other instances with this sort of supernatural stuff?
My stepbrother, he had the experience there, and he got super freaked out by it, so I believed him. But he said he was in one of the bedrooms, and he heard a voice say, "I'm gonna get you." And he came running. We were watching TV, and he came running in the room, freaking out. He's like, "There's somebody up there talking to me," and and all that. But that's the only other, supernatural type thing I've heard there.
Did you ever do any history on the house?
I did not.
I'm always curious if that note meant anything that you found, or if it was just someone messing with you.
I don't know. I just always assumed, yeah.
Assumed it was a joke. Maybe they were warning you, like, you know what?
They probably were.
This house is crazy.
But I was too young to even care or think about it.
When the family's all out of that house now.
Oh yeah.
And
this was back in California, but yeah.
Okay. And was anyone else in the family like visited by anything else like weird, like your brother or anything afterwards?
No, but like I said, there's just so many horrible things that happened in the house with our family. Know, like we went from a great tight knit family to just complete the opposite. As soon as we moved in that house, like not even a year into that house.
There are people who would say they're entities that feed off bad behavior and making it worse. I don't know, Wesley. Yeah. Do you have any thoughts when it comes to this kind of stuff? Like you've been experiencing stuff in a house that's been odd lately.
Hold on, there we go.
Sweet.
I don't feel like a person who can give advice on something like that. Like
it's always different, right?
Yeah, and like I just don't know. I'm still in a state where when I see stuff, I'm still hardcore questioning what my eyes saw or my ears heard, and like.
Yeah.
It's like, are we projecting these things out into this world, and then we're perceiving things that are actually coming from within?
Yeah, or like, is it a totally natural occurrence that your brain interprets into a completely different thing, like pareidolia type?
Right. You see it, and your brain is telling you this is what you're seeing. Yeah. But on the flip side, caller, I'm sorry, I didn't get your name, by the way.
Oh, Ambi.
Ambi. Like, we have had other callers with very similar situations who've been in bad, tragic situations, and these sort of entities emerge from those. So it's, again, like what Wesley's saying, I don't really know how to describe these things. So sometimes I feel like we are projecting them into the world. Other times it feels like they're feeding off of our suffering. It's really something else. But
Well, I have a couple other stories if I have time to
Oh
share
yeah,
them with
let's
you.
hear it.
Okay, cool. This is another one that happened in California in Leona Valley, if anybody's familiar with the area. It's kind of like a little country town outside of the cities and stuff, but
Okay.
there's a four-way stop sign there, and when I approached the four-way stop sign, I was with my friend in the car at the time, and it was nighttime in the middle of summer. There's a hay and feed store on the left side, and then there's like a convenience store, gas station on the right side of the street. And from the left side all the way to the gas station, there was this woman and a child, and they were holding hands and they were walking across the street, and then they disappeared. But the strange thing about it is they were all white. Like, I call them fog people because I don't know what else to call them,
That's a cool.
because that's
I
just
like
kind of
that.
what it seemed like to me.
Right.
And they were, the other thing too is they were very detailed. Like, I could see that the woman and the daughter were wearing dresses, and the mother had like a long, one of those old hats that are droopy and long.
Mm-hmm.
And then my friend was in the car with me, but the other part too that was strange is the time felt slower all of a sudden. Like, I remember it felt like it happened for a long time, but it was not that long, if you know what I mean.
Interesting. And they just walked
And then
into the distance and disappeared?
yeah, like straight, and my car was facing them the whole time, so my headlights were in that direction. It's almost like my headlights illuminated them even more.
I
But it was
love when
definitely
ghosts affect the lights.
yeah, yeah,
And you mentioned you were at a
but it's,
crossroads, right? That was, you
yeah.
said
I was at a
intersection?
crossroads. Yeah, and
Man.
my friend was in the car with me, and because I freaked out, and I was like, "Did you just see that?" And she started freaking out, and I was like, "Well, I wanted her to tell me what she saw, so I know that I wasn't just tripping." And she
Good
explained it
journalism skills.
detail to detail. Yeah, oh yeah, she explained it detail to detail, and I was like, "Wow, that was trippy. That was
Wow.
weird."
Maybe you slipped through a
But
time portal.
also, yeah, I don't know, but there's
Or,
also just a sense of peace there too, which is
oh,
really
interesting.
strange. Yeah.
When you say intersection or all the stop signs, it made me think of crossroads, and they used to hang people at crossroads a lot back in the day,
Oh
like
yeah.
18th century type stuff. I encountered a lot of that when I was in Georgia, because the idea was they wanted to confuse the people's ghost after being hanged, that they were
Oh
lost in
wow.
the crossroads.
Wow. Yeah. So who knows? I tried to look into some history about that because that one just always stuck with me. Like, man, that was so weird, and especially because I didn't experience it alone.
Right.
But I couldn't find any, history or anything about
You go back and try
something.
to recreate it.
Yeah.
It never happens.
Yeah. Right.
And
Uh.
did you have another story to share?
Yeah. I have another one that happened to me that's strange as well.
Let's hear it.
This is more of like an outer body experience, I'd say. So I was about 16 years old, and I was in church, and it was praise and worship time, I remember, and everybody was standing up and singing or whatever, and it was definitely more one of those theatrical type churches where there's lights and whatever, like,
Mm-hmm.
but concert style. So I was sitting there standing there with everybody and singing songs and stuff, and then all of a sudden I got, I guess, taken out of my reality and into a new reality, and the only thing that I saw was I was like a bird in the sky, and I was looking down on the land, and there was this massive mountain of a man, but it was just like his torso and his shoulder and his head,
Hmm.
and he was all black. And the strange thing about it is, like, there was a bunch of people, probably thousands, and they were all running to it and kneeling to it. And then I snapped back, and my hands were in the air, and I was singing church songs again, and I was back in church. And it was very brief, like 5-second vision or whatever that was. I have no idea what it was, what it meant. This day, I wonder what it meant. But
That's interesting.
I mean, I couldn't hear.
You have no like interpretation of it at all?
I mean, the people I've talked to, they're like, oh, it could have been, the Antichrist, or it could have been, the Messiah. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't. I wish I had some more clarity on what that was, but I have no idea. And I didn't really even have much of a feeling that came with it either. I know I wasn't afraid, but I wasn't at peace either. It did spook me out, but not. I don't know. It's just very strange. And that was the only time I've had something like that happen in my life, where I'm just literally taken. I felt like I was taken out of my reality into another one, watching something, and
Did
then
you
right
feel in
back in my body.
control when you were flying?
Yeah,
Interesting.
Like
And,
I
you
was
could
able
move
to
your
look.
head, like it was like lucid dreaming.
Yeah, yeah. I was like, I'm able to look around
Hmm.
and watch the scene, but it wasn't a very long scene.
Interesting.
Yeah,
That's
it was
wild.
weird.
I haven't had any experiences like that. Have you?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I've never been. I can't think of like an out of body experience that I've had. Well,
I should
yeah,
say I
I
had the
should
one that
too.
was not an out of body experience, but every time I have a seizure, it's
That's
like
right.
that's a strange kind
Yes.
of otherworldly experience. But nothing ever where I felt like I was in this world and I could see my own body or see something else.
I
Nothing
see
like
something
that.
so specific like that. Well, I really appreciate you sharing your stories tonight, and I appreciate you waiting around to tell us.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you guys so
Of
much.
course. Have a
Thank
good
you.
one.
All right, you too. Bye.
Do you want to share any of those out of body? Is it too crazy?
Uh,
It's a lot. I don't want to put you on a spot. You can totally say no.
in a nutshell, well, first, before we go there, we do have a super chat.
Oh, sick.
It's from Joey Hall. And he said, my wife and I saw a pair of translucent legs walk across our front yard Friday night. Also, here's some money. So thank you for the super
Thank
chat,
you.
Joey.
Crazy. That's a crazy image.
That is, yes.
Wow. So you've had some.
Yeah. So I have a neurological disorder. It's called Wolff-Parkinson-White. It is something, it's kind of something everybody has to a degree. It's just the level of, is it on, like, how deep into it? So it's the same thing as, like, if you've ever met anybody who passes out at the sight of blood, that is Wolff-Parkinson-White. It's when an external stimulus that doesn't have any impact on that particular part of your body, your perception of it causes you to have a physiological reaction. And I just have it to a high degree. It's transient, which is interesting thing.
And what do you mean by that?
Like, so one time on the basketball court when I was a kid, somebody bounced the ball right in front of me really hard, like off the ground, and that sound caused me to pass out. But I play basketball all the time, and like I've been hit with the ball before.
So you just
out.
never know what
Yeah.
the thing could be,
Yep.
which makes it all the crazier
Yeah.
in my mind.
And like, I've shut my hand on my car door, passed out, like that. It's been, like sudden flashes of light. It just can be anything,
Right.
But when that happens, when I do pass out, it's like my essence is being sucked through a mile-long straw and then coming out into a place that is all light. And it's hard to describe.
Can you describe the light? Like, is it
It's
a bright, blinding light or a
it's-
comforting light?
it's like a web of light, like interconnected lightning.
Wow. So is it pulsing or is it like a place of just static light?
It's like static, and it's hard to like the perception of it is more like a memory than it is looking at it. You know what I mean? Like it's more of impulses or notions, like collating together into an image rather than an image itself. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like it's
Layers and layers of.
it's as if you, it's almost like echolocation. Like,
Right.
but like if you were building a visual, your brain was building a visual off of all of the things that your other senses are putting together, sort of like Daredevil.
Wow.
Like Daredevil can't see, but he can see
Yeah.
because of his other senses are heightened to a degree that his brain programs like a three-dimensional model.
Right.
And that's what it's like in there. I can only remember elements of it, obviously. And when I come back, or when I wake up, it's like a hard reboot of my brain. I don't remember for like, I don't know, 10, 15 seconds. It's like being born. It's like, I don't know who I am, where I am, English, the whole operating system reboots.
If someone's around you, do they hear you trying to talk or do you not even attempt?
I don't think I attempt. Like a friend of mine, I had a full-on grand mal seizure when I don't even know what happened. I just know I woke up on the couch and he was sitting there in like the recliner chair across from me. He was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "I don't feel very good." And I was like, "What happened?" Because I don't even remember at first, like when it all comes back later. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
But it does come back. That's
Yeah,
wild.
yeah, it all comes back later. Like the first 10 seconds comes back, but I don't remember it immediately. It's like a reboot. I don't know how to describe it.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Like
Where do you think you go? Like, do you have any? Like, do you have any interpretation? Like, are you deep in some other part of your brain?
Maybe, I don't know.
In
Like
another dimension? Like, it's a very interesting thing that you see. Have you talked to other people who've had similar experiences?
Yes.
And they see similar things, or?
Yes, I have talked to one person from my hometown. I'm not gonna name him, but she like made a post about it on Facebook one time, and I was like, "We gotta talk."
And she happens to be from your hometown. That's
well,
wild.
like Indianapolis.
Okay,
like the greater Indianapolis area.
Right.
So like not from the small town I'm from, but like maybe 20 minutes north of there.
Right.
And yeah, we had like one really long conversation about that, about what it was like, and she had a very different perspective on it. Like it convinced her that like she sunk into like solipsism.
Like she's the only person
Yes.
alive.
Yeah.
So how does she? I wonder how people who are solipsistic view you like when they come in. It's just part of their world that they are controlling. Yeah.
But she was like, oh, like it pushed her into more of a nihilistic kind of place of like, oh, there's nothing but my own mind, and it pushed me the other direction. Like that there's way more.
Of course.
And I don't know. Like I don't know what to think about it. It just is what it is. You know, like I don't have some grand perspective on like, oh, there's an afterlife. I already believed that. Like I already believe that there's an afterlife, but I don't understand it. Like I don't.
Maybe you go to a waiting room.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's Abraham's bosom is the waiting room. Like,
can you explain that?
Abraham's bosom is just a waiting place before Christ where souls went to be discerned. There was a chasm between it. I don't know what that means. Like there's a lot that like, I'm a believer in the Bible, but there's a lot of it that it says, here's what this is. And it's like, okay, well, I don't know what that means. You know, you could say like, oh, I'm from Lexington. Lexington where? I don't understand. You know, like I understand what you're saying, but I don't have the information to understand whoever wrote this particular scripture. It tells you, you just have to use that as like a legend. Does it line up with what you're seeing in the world, just like with everything else? But I genuinely don't know. I don't, and I don't think about it very often because I think no matter what it is, it doesn't matter long term. It is interesting to me, like, and I think about it, dream about it sometimes, but I don't like she the girl wanted answers and thought that like science, you know, like would prove it, and perhaps it will, you know, like it's a measure.
The Neuralink might.
Yeah, but exactly.
But I'm not doing that.
But I have no diagnosis. I have no theory. I just know.
I think being comfortable with the non-answer is the unfortunate route. Maybe not unfortunate, but that's the route.
Yeah.
I mean, I believe in God.
Yeah.
And that's the answer. And all these other things, trying to define them, I just think is out of our reach.
The only thing that I'll ever say that I've somewhat speculated on is the GATE program. Do you know the GATE program?
No, I don't think so.
The CIA GATE program.
Oh, like the portals?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like the higher levels of, that's the only thing where like I've heard people talk about GATE program stuff, especially even on our friend show, Tony Merkel's show. He had a guy who was trying to recreate the GATE experiments, and they talked about these things, and I was like, well, that sounds familiar to what, you know, like
the visuals of it and all that.
Yeah, and like how like the different levels of density and reality, and like what happens to you when you like, because it's like this is a purely physical. Your mind's in a cage, right? You're a ghost in a machine, right? You're, and then on the higher levels, you become more ethereal, and then on the highest level, you combine with the source,
The web of light.
Like the source, they would call God, like the source, and that seems like a one view of what reality may be, like a very finite through a keyhole, right? But I don't know. But some of the things I said, I was like, okay, well, there's that. This is how that felt, and it. At the end of the day, it could have been a seizure dream, that I have every time,
Right.
Could have been that.
And maybe even those are some type of portal to something greater.
Yeah, maybe.
You know?
Yeah.
It's just
I just know what I experienced, and I don't even know that it was real. I just know what my perception of it was, and it's strange. And it's strange that it happens every time.
Well, that makes me want to hear a song. I think it's by Iris DeMint, "Let the Mystery Be." And
that's a good title.
Yeah, that's a good way to end this episode. I hope you guys turn this off now and go listen to Iris DeMint's "Let the Mystery Be." It's a beautiful, beautiful song. And it was featured one of my favorite shows, The Leftovers, all about not having the answers to this crazy life, which kind of is the theme of the show today and in general. But I appreciate you all tuning in. We'll be back next week. Please like and share this as much as you can. It really helps us out. And you can find me online at Shane Cashman. Wesley, where can they find you in that crazy place?
You can find me on the Boonies HQ.
That's awesome. So thank you all. Until next week.